Movement through the storm. The integration of dance and biomechanical principles in dance movement therapy services for individuals living with multiple sclerosis. Many special thanks to my culminating project advisor, my academic supervisor, and the programs and collaborators of the project. To Ms. Carol Gogowski, who serves as the inspiration of my work. MS is also defined as a chronic disease where the inflammation factors attack the immune system and target against the myelinated sheath of the nerves. During the course of my research, I came to find only 3 research dance rehabilitation studies on multiple sclerosis. There was only one study, which was a case study of using dance movement therapy in a dance physiology program for a woman diagnosed with relapsed remittent multiple sclerosis. This encompasses proprioceptive training, which is also called kinesthesia, which is also known as the body's sixth sense to listen and to know with the body's orientation and position in space and motion, which are all essential to having body awareness. The first vignette entitled Mind to Muscle, which was an in-person individual work with the Yes You Can program. We focused on building muscular strength and fine and gross motor skills and performance of daily independent tasks that required transferring in and out of her car and into her home safely. I used motor imagery, ballet gestures of tendus and dégagés where I wrapped the TheraBand around her right ankle and tied the other attachment adjacent to her wheelchair, where her leg will be in full extension and activated, her hip abductors contracting in and out of the way from the midline. As we placed our mind to muscle, I used the prompt of imagining a sensory impulse radiating from head to toe for emulating with her walker. I observed her confidence and her body weight shifting and sensing her body's center of gravity and trying to maintain her body's base of support. Using her strengths, however, and her kinesthetic muscular memory as a fitness instructor from her background provided her an anchor and restoring healing factors that helped her with pain management and spasticity, but also helped with mastery tools where she was able to transfer herself in and out of her home safely and never fear getting back into her home that contribute to motor learning from accessing the knowledge of the body and the identity of the self. The second vignette and the third vignette will highlight the online work that was done with the online dance community. The second vignette is entitled MS Mind in Quarantine, which was the online work led by the dance artist in resident. The vignette tells the story of the women friendship that was prior to the dance class, where one participant was a prima ballerina. The session started by asking the community what about the dance class is supporting your mind to stay grounded during quarantine. As the response themes highlight suggested memory and also social engagement, the instructor introduced the body breath work that was using the motor imagery of earth, wind, fire, and air, and the metaphorical imagery of movement with ease. The warm-up exercise is tuned with the client's tense and stress pain areas, and also the instructor applied the motor imagery to detail the physical and mental experience that suggested stimulating the brain nerves in the peripheral nervous system and sensory sense areas. During the breath work, the client shared the empathic call and response vocalization of the internal breath patterns, which create more expansion in the chest cavity. Each movement sequence had the metaphorical imagery to describe and provide a sensory component of the movement quality. The client with the ballet background was observed to have her strengths involving the light and sustained qualities in her movement preferences, with which were influenced by her ballet background. We progressed the session with the ballet technique phrases that captured the essence of effort and spatial qualities. The mechanics of ballet supported the head, neck, and spinal relationship and the trunk stabilization within the rhythm and music to help with the additional multisensory focal approach to memory and motor learning. What was so powerful was the community's narrative of maintaining the sacred dance community space and social engagement, camaraderie, control, and preserving the health and well-being and self-agency. The third vignette is entitled Movement Through the Storm, which is a hybrid model of poetry and dance into telling the body narrative during the height of the pandemic in the midst of Hurricane Isa. I led the session and scaffolded 1 through 5 by layering the movement motifs of thunderstorm cycles, a variety of time, focus points, and shape changes in the trunk and joint areas that focus on the client with the ballet background. The first phrase discussed the storm traveling along the eastern border in the western coast. This and opened up to the second port of the combinations that associated with the client's ballet background. I observed her as her range of repertoire flexibility in the upper extremities and the peripheral transverse of the kinesphere. This lengthened her torso, and she began to become fluid and elongated from the port de bras combinations, looking at the journey ahead. The second phase is building precipitation, high intensity of dew point areas, where I use tactile exercises to help release tension, chronic pain, numbness, and joint stiffness in order to sense one's receptors to activate one's proprioception. The third phase is the turbulence and intensity of the hurricane settling period, where I use kinesthetic and visual imagery of lightning and wind elements into the imagery of the neuron energy ball activity. The ball energy activity include passing the energy to each member through the screen as a group cohesive exercise to stimulate the central nervous system as a neuroconduction and transmission of afferent to efferent pathways. This was the freeing up of the movement energy, a way to contribute to self-efficacy and emotional wellness, as it contributed to the agency of combating persistent daily challenges. The fourth phase was a recuperation, a constructive rest and recovery. But also, as the group gradually rise and progress to standing, I supported the client using a sagittal pelvic shift to articulate the feet motions of pushing against the ground from her trunk and psoas and leg muscles. It generated force against gravity. As we looked at the eye of the storm, it involved spontaneity and visual imagination of evaporation, storm, clouds, and sunlight aligning with the thunderstorm cycle's aftermath, a warm atmosphere observed in the group's interaction, showcasing individuality and self-concept behind readapting when overcoming the journey through the storm. Recommendations for dance movement therapy, telehealth therapy programs for individuals with MS and balanced memory also provides the physical and the emotional support during the processes of relapse, recovery, and remission. The critical components in identity, memory, motor learning, and emotion of restoring proprioception is also in sensing one's orientation and perception towards the environment are needed to build confidence towards the restoring the sense of self, body safety, and sense of agency that is a visceral experience provoked in the dance of the body that is learning through movement and relearning about the self. The body learns everything through moments of uncertainty and movements through the storm.